Hello and welcome to Nautilus TV, your trusted source of trade union news and insights. We have another strong lineup of stories for you this month, including the Nautilus Federation pushes for action on the global crisis in recruitment and retention. The future of maritime jobs and employment debated at a high-level delegation in Rotterdam, and
having ADHD in itself does not automatically mean that a seafarer is not fit to work at sea.
Maritime and Coast Guard Agency Chief Medical Advisor Sue Stannard on working at sea with ADHD. But first, this message on the Nautilus Sea Service Record, a new service helping yacht crew members verify their sea time. The Nautilus Federation has released a new report which aims to finally end the conversation and force the industry to act over the recruitment and retention crisis. Now, Rob, can we start with a little bit of a background to this issue, please? What is the so-called recruitment and retention crisis, and why should we be worried about it?
Well, first of all, it's a global issue, which is why the Nautilus Federation has taken it on. The Federation is 21 trade unions, like-minded trade unions around the world who come together on issues like this. In short, there's a lack of seafarers worldwide. Not enough people choosing to go into the industry, and of those that do, veteran seafarers are leaving, cadets are leaving before they finish their training. It's a real problem. It's also a real problem now because we're looking towards the just transition, something Nautilus is of course campaigning on, and a lot of people are going to need reskilling, retraining to keep up with new technologies. So that makes this recruitment and retention crisis even more acute when you factor that in as well.
Right, okay. So what did the Nautilus Federation report find, and why is this important, particularly for our members and other seafarers?
Well, this is important. It's not saying anything new. These aren't surprising findings. What it's done is collect a lot of academic research from the last 20 years, bring it all together in one place and say to the industry, look, we know what the problem is, we know what the solutions are, now it's time for you to do something about it. This is supposed to be a capstone on the conversation. In terms of what it actually found, it's things like conditions on board are not attractive to people who might be interested in going to seafaring. It finds that connectivity is a very big issue that's driving people away. It finds that sea time experience for cadets is often damaging to people. It's driving them out of the industry before they even really start. All things our members probably won't be surprised by, and the industry also won't be surprised by, but they need to do something about it.
Well, great. That sounds like a real rallying cry for employers to take action now. And I understand that you spoke with our colleague, Danny McGowan from the Nautilus Federation, and we can go over to that interview now.
Thank you. So I'm told that this is it. This is the final academic report on the recruitment and retention crisis that's needed. Why is the Federation being really firm on that point before we get into the details?
Yeah, we certainly hope it will be the last report of its kind, Rob, as we've had many years of discussing this recruitment and retention crisis. We've had many years of talking about what seafarers need to be attracted to the industry, to keep our industry attractive to them, but also what seafarers need to be able to stay in the industry and enjoy long working careers. The time now is for action in what we're doing.
What is the nature of this crisis? Why is it that seafarers are being recruited at rates that are too low? Why are people leaving the industry as well?
Absolutely. So anybody reading this report, if they are surprised by its findings, then they've not been listening for the last 10 years at least, if not beyond. So the three main themes that come out of the report, or that came from the research going into the report, are sort of revolving around job satisfaction, career progression, and good working conditions. There's respect, involvement, and commitment shown by employers, and again, no surprise, the provision of adequate communication facilities. Those are themes that nobody will be surprised to hear about watching this video. Nobody will be surprised to read about in the report, and we've got some really good recommendations. Again, not surprising, but good recommendations from the report that we need the industry to start looking at, and we need governments to start looking at as well.
On March 19, Nautilus International attended the European Shipping Summit as part of a trade union delegation to advocate for fair employment, sustainable jobs, and greater diversity of opportunity within the maritime sector. Nautilus Assistant General Secretary Sascha Meijer spoke about closing the talent gap and has filed a report from Brussels for us.
Hello, this is Sascha Meijer from Brussels, where my colleague Danny McGowan and myself today attended the European Shipping Summit on behalf of Nautilus, but also on behalf of ETF, European Transport Workers Federation, and then the maritime section of that. I participated in a panel this morning about closing the talent gap was the name of the panel, which is about how to attract and retain more women to the seafaring profession. And this subject is very close to my heart. Most of all, I always emphasize the need for better work-life balance in our sector, because without that we will never attract women, but we will also never attract enough men to sea. I emphasize that we need to work on other types of labor contracts where women and men can go to sea, come ashore, maybe even for a few years when children are young, possibly go back to sea or work in the offices in the sector, possibly have some leave and come back with responsibility and freedom and options and variance. And I also put into the discussion that maybe we should try to obtain subsidies or funds for this kind of experiments in a bit more flexible labor relations in order to retain women, but also young men for the beautiful, unique professions at sea. And of course, we also touched on important issues like sexism, prejudice, bullying and harassment, violence at the workplace, because it's all part of what's needed to recruit and retain women and men for the sector. And lastly, I posed the question to our industry if the stress, the fact that European ship owners keep stressing we are competing internationally, we're part of a global industry, we have to be competitive internationally, is compatible with their call to attract European seafarers and to attract women. Is it compatible? Can we be serious about attracting European seafarers and women if we're also serious about going on accepting the worldwide system where shipping competes also on wages?
Earlier this month, Sascha took part in a roundtable in Rotterdam looking at the future of the maritime sector, where she emphasised that quality shipping must be accompanied by quality employment. The event was hosted by the Dutch Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management and was also attended by International Maritime Organization Secretary General Arsenio Dominguez. I spoke with Sascha about how the trade union movement is using collective bargaining and other industrial strategies to secure quality employment for our members and for all seafarers.
Yes, first of all, the future is now. Our industry is constantly changing. So the negotiations that we do now, we also do to make the jobs and the labor conditions fit for the future and to make them attractive. Because we are an industry with shortages, and normally industries with shortage have to do their utter best to be attractive in order to attract all the talent we can, to attract the talent into the sector. So this is about attraction, recruitment and retention of maritime professionals. But other industries also have shortages, so we compete with other industries. And we feel that the maritime industry, and especially shipping, should do much more to offer attractive jobs within that competition for talent. We also need to have the difficult discussions, not only improve the image. And difficult discussions are, for example, about work and rest hours. We know, because the World Maritime University has done massive research about it, we know that we have an issue with work and rest hours. We know that some of our members are suffering fatigue because of excessive work hours, because of lack of rest. It's not an easy discussion, but we will have to have it in ILO, in IMO. And we're doing it. We're putting it on the table in a few weeks in Geneva. And in order to be an attractive sector, we have to look at these issues. And work-life balance is another one. The sector says it wants to attract women, and we do. But what women want is basically the same as what men want. Young fathers want a work-life balance, and also seafarers and other professionals who have parents that need care. We want a work-life balance also for them. They stand up for that. We negotiate about things like this in CBAs, but also in ILO and IMO. And we fight bullying and harassment. We have to. And also that is not only about women, but also about men. So we need to have the easy discussions to polish the image, but we also have to have the tougher discussions.
It's Nautilus policy to support and campaign for members with neurodiverse conditions, something that was agreed at the 2023 General Meeting. Now, Sarah Robinson has been looking at the condition ADHD and what it means to work at sea with ADHD. Sarah, what did you find out?
Well, this came about because a few months ago I went to a conference of the approved doctors. So those are the people in the UK who do your medical to check that you're fit to work at sea. And what some of them were saying is that they were increasingly seeing people declaring ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And the people were declaring that at their medical, so the approved doctors had to take it into account when they're deciding whether the person was fit to work at sea. And then I thought, well, how can I find out more about this? Because I thought our members would like to hear information. Would you have to bring more information? Would you have to have extra tests or something like that? So that's why it all came about.
Okay, so seafarers would have to supply particular information to the approving doctor. Why do they need to do that?
Okay, well, that's what I was thinking too. So I had a chat with Dr. Sue Stannard. So she's kind of the boss of the approved doctors. She works as Chief Medical Advisor for the MCA. And we had a fantastic interview, really interesting, where she told me all about issues like, would people have to supply extra information to the approved doctors? What about their medication and all of that sort of thing. But I have to say, what I particularly was impressed by was that Sue Stannard was all about people with ADHD working at sea. She said, whatever your health condition, we don't automatically turn you down. You might have to supply a bit more information, and certainly managing medicines can be quite an issue. But we want everybody to consider a career at sea, whatever their condition is.
Well, great. That sounds like a really positive message from the Chief Medical Advisor to the MCA. So let's go over and listen to that clip now.
So having ADHD in itself does not automatically mean that a seafarer is not fit to work at sea. We need to understand how ADHD affects that individual, and therefore we can make sure that it's safe for them to be working and potentially living on board for what is sometimes a considerable period of time. In addition, of course, some people are prescribed medication for ADHD, which may help them manage their symptoms, but come with side effects of its own. Again, all medication should be declared at an ENG1 medical examination, and it's really important that the seafarer is well established on a stable dose with good effect on their symptoms, but no side effects that can cause issues and affect safety at sea. It's not a good idea to be starting, stopping or changing medication on board, because that can have a direct impact on the underlying condition.
So if we talk about the medication, now I understand that some medication prescribed for ADHD is described as controlled. Can you just tell us a bit about what that means and how that can be managed on board vessels when a person is at sea?
Sure. So controlled drugs are drugs that are subject to a high level of regulation by the government. Controlled drugs can often only be issued for a set period of time, for example, 28 days. They must be signed for on receipt, they need to be stored in a safe way, etc. So it's really important that the seafarer discusses this with the healthcare professional who's prescribing them, with the pharmacist who's distributing them, and make sure that they have enough supply of medication to cover their contract on board if they're not coming back home on a daily, weekly, frequent basis. On board, these drugs must be declared to the master and they must be stored securely. It's important that the seafarer always carries a prescription, and they should also be given a conditions letter from the approved doctor to accompany the medication and to explain to people on board why this medication is required and that it must be stored securely. Really important as well to understand that these medications may actually be illegal in some countries, and therefore the company and the master should be aware, as this may affect route planning, contract planning, etc. Likewise, if a seafarer is travelling to join a ship, they must ensure that it's legal to carry the medication into the country they're travelling to or into any they're transiting through. Many individuals with ADHD do go on to have a successful career in the maritime industry, and the MCA fully supports prospective seafarers in that endeavour. I've said before, we are keen for people to work at sea. We are not trying to stop them. We're trying to make sure it's safe for them and others for them to do so. So for those with a pre-existing condition, including ADHD, my top tip would be to acknowledge that a certificate may not be given the first time. Please don't apply the day before you intend to embark on the vessel, and allow sufficient time for the process. It may be the case that more information is requested or required, and gathering it could take time.
March 8 is International Women's Day, and as part of our commitment to supporting diversity within the maritime industry, Nautilus attended several events, including the TUC Womens Conference. Amy, you were at the event with Dawn. Can you give us a little bit of a flavour about what it was like and what our motion was calling for?
So this motion came out of Nautilus's Diversity Forum. So a group of women from the union came together to talk about issues affecting them, and the issue of maternity rights came up again and again. And what we've actually known for a while is a lot of women working at sea often get into a position where they have to choose between their career and having children. And this is, the maternity for women at sea is way behind the rights that you'd have ashore, and this is entirely unacceptable. And it also puts off so many women from the maritime profession. So we proposed this motion at the TUC conference, and we were seconded by the RMT. And I'm happy to say that it was voted for unanimously.
Yeah, that's really brilliant news. What are we hoping will change in terms of our key asks within the motion?
So what we're asking for is for maternity rights for women at sea to be in line with those that women have ashore. So that includes maternity pay, and it also includes, with the new employment rights legislation coming in, the right for flexible work. So at the moment, a lot of women who have children who are working at sea have to go into quite insecure short-term contracts. So by having the option of flexible work, or working on shore perhaps for some time, then that's a huge step for creating a more diverse and equitable maritime industry.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really good, and it makes complete sense to try and align maternity rights whether you're working at sea and ashore. So thank you very much for that, Amy, and we can now go to a clip of Dawn presenting that motion to the TUC Women's Conference.
The absence of maternity protections has long-term implications. Without proper support, many of these highly skilled and qualified women are compelled to leave the industry entirely, resulting in a loss of talent, diversity in that industry, and that industry cannot afford that. If we are serious about promoting gender equality and ensuring sustainable maritime careers for women, we must address this issue. One of our members was also like to see their family had to resort to a solution of handing the baby over on the gangway. Well, this clearly is not sustainable. From my own personal experience, I was lucky at the beginning, in the first 10 years of my career, to have reliable and solid childcare provisions and post-maternity provisions from my mother and my partner. That, of course, sometimes is not sustainable. I found I was pushed into, as we were talking about, freelance working and unfit, small, short contracts that were underpaid. Those working at sea must have access to statutory maternity pay, job security, post-maternal support, and equal opportunities. Flexible working arrangements must be mandatory to ensure women seafarers are able to achieve the highest ranks, as well as just the ranks. Conference, I urge you, I implore you to support this motion. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, a Nautilus lay representative, or lay rep, is a member of the union who volunteers to represent and support fellow union members in their workplace. Lay reps act as a bridge between the workforce and the union, and they provide guidance on employment rights, assisting with workplace issues, and promoting union activities. I understand that we've got some new training for our lay reps. Rob, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it's quite a complex role being a lay rep. You're called upon to assist members in all kinds of different ways, everything from, helping them fill out a form, or perhaps they've made a mistake, helping them understand processes at the employer, all the way to assisting with pay and conditions negotiations. It's a really, really important role that members can fill to help others in the workplace. And obviously, going along with that, you need to know your stuff a little bit. You need to know what you're able to do as well as a lay rep, what you're sort of legally covered to do. So Nautilus has put together some new training on that. It's all online and it can be done sort of at your own pace, so that people are prepared for the role.
Great, well that sounds like a wonderful opportunity for our members to get more involved with the trade union, and I know that you spoke to our strategic organiser Glenn Cairns about that opportunity, and we've got a clip that we can go to now.
From my perspective, a lay rep is somebody who helps the bigger picture of the union, dealing with everything that it wants dealt with in the workplace where possible, from meetings, assisting in pay talks, low-level disciplines, grievances, all the sorts of stuff that the strategic organisers do, but they do it to help them out. They get involved at all levels as much as the training gives them, of course. Then that's why the people need to be trained. If you take seafarers, for instance, you wouldn't be expected to go and start working on the bridge or in the engine control room without any training, any more than you'd be expected to, I don't know, drive a number 10 bus without any training. The facts of the matter are that everybody needs training of some sort or another. And in order to progress as a lay rep, liaison officer, partnership at work, health and safety rep person, you are going to need some basic training. And that's why Nautilus, with the help of the Trade Union Congress Education Department, have put together this e-learning package, which I'll talk about in a minute. But that's where we are with it. And it's very important that people do the training.
Great. Well, yeah, perhaps we can get straight into it. So it's e-learning, I guess that's the first thing to say. This is all online, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And the way we've structured the course with Anna at the TUC is that you can do it in small parts. So no matter how long the course is going to take you to complete, you can do 15 minutes here, half an hour there, so on and so forth, a couple of hours, however much time you need. You can go back and dip in and out all the time, and it's all recording in the background what you've actually done. And then when you finish the course, you get a certificate which shows that you have got a recognised trade union qualification, which you will have, which is useful going forward for the individual, particularly when they're dealing with management.
That wraps up our Nautilus TV for this episode. You can watch more union news on our channel. Just make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our content. Remember to stay connected and to stay engaged with your union, because together we can navigate the challenges ahead. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.